Thank you for checking out my favorite Pokemon list. For this video, I will be covering my favorite fire Pokemon. Now, just as a little disclaimer, this is all based on my opinion. It has nothing to do with stats, it has nothing to do with ratings, it has nothing to do with any of that. It's just Pokemon that I like that put a smile on my face. That being said, the first Pokemon on the list is Victini. Victini is one of the, shall we say, Mirage Pokemon. It's a legendary, yes, but it's one of those Pokemon that you only really get one chance to catch because it's an event-only Pokemon, meaning you had to get a special download of it. Yeah, you get the Liberty Pass to go to Liberty Island, the Statue of Liberty, and there you can catch Victini, who is hiding in the island. It was stored away there because it had so much power, but it couldn't contain it in its little body. That's pretty amazing, I think. But mostly, I like the V wings that it has on its head, and I like the blue eyes. Its shiny version, which I soft reset it forever to try to get, but apparently it's shiny locked, so I wasted my time there. But it looks like Ultraman, which also is what Way Big from Ben 10 was based off of, but yeah. But I had a lot of good experiences in Black and White, or was it Black and White 2? 5th gen's a little blurry for me. But yeah, lots of good experiences with this Pokemon. I just really like its design and its aesthetic. I wouldn't even care if it was like, you know, a not very good looking, but a not very powerful Pokemon. It was just a random run-of-the-mill I can find and breed to death. Of course, I would probably try to root for that shiny, because shiny Victini is tight. Moving on, gonna be a total Gen 1er, Magmar. Magmar is an amazing Pokemon. Particularly Blaine's Magmar in the Pokemon anime way back when, fighting Ash's Uber Charizard that he doesn't really use all that much, and fanboys everywhere were sad that didn't get a Mega Form. Magmar is pretty cool. It has access to a variety of like punching moves, but it also has like a very deep fire type move pool, and you can teach it Psychic, Solar Beam, Focus Blast. Like it is really great. And just for that variety of moves, and just look at it, like, not many Pokemon, like, is it a platypus? Is it a duck? Were they going for a fire type Kappa? Like, what, like, it's just so, like, in and of itself, like, even its evolved form Magmar, I don't think just looks anywhere near as cool as Magmar itself. And I did like Magby, but Magmar as a middle evolution, well, previously a fully evolved Pokemon, so it can still use Hyper Beam, believe it or not, but I don't think it has access to Giga Impact. I think only Magmar can use that. However, I just really like it. Like, it's just such a fighter. It looks so cool with that fire on the tip of its tail, and then, like, it's got, I guess, Mardi Gras flamenco dancer arms? Like, I never actually thought about that before, but yeah. It was one of those like, it's a Pokemon that you wouldn't really suspect is a particularly powerful Pokemon, but yeah, Magmar is pretty cool in my book. And then next is Arcanine. Now, Arcanine I didn't actually use back when, like, when I used Arcanine in the Red and Blue days, it was like, well, I'll teach it Fire Blast, I'll teach it Flamethrower, but it just felt like it didn't really get access to that many moves. To me, at least, like, I think I taught it Dig as well, because Dig used to be OP. But then, you know, other fire-type Pokemon came along, and it seemed like they could do the job just as well. But then, as generations passed, Game Freak kept Arcanine strong. Now, Arcanine, being a pure fire type, it always has had access to at least one dragon type move. That's pretty cool. Like, it used to be able to use like Dragon Rage, and then I think you could actually breed it or take it to a move to learn like Twister. But you could also teach it Dragon Breath, which was, I thought, was pretty useful back in Gen 2 because of that paralysis effect. But also, you're not expecting it to do that. Now, in later gens, my Arcanine knew how to do Dragon Pulse, and I would teach it, like, I tried to get it to be a mixed attacker. I would have it with Dragon Pulse, Close Combat, Flamethrower, and Fire Fang. And you wouldn't really expect a lot of those moves coming out of it, but it can also do Aerial Ace, it has access to, I think, Solar Beam, or more specifically, Morning Sun. It has a healing move. Like, Arcanine's got a lot going on for it, and its stats are pretty close to a legendary, if not legendary level. I think Arcanine gets overlooked just because it's one of the older Pokemon, and yeah, it's a big fluffy tiger, but it's not the flashiest looking Pokemon either. But I happen to actually like Arcanine. It took a while for it to get onto like my favorite side, but it was a Pokemon I always looked at because I just believed that it's the legendary Pokemon. So I always believed that it was like, it had this potential, and it fully realizes it as time goes on. So bravo to you, Arcanine. My next favorite fire Pokemon is a Pokemon that comes under a lot of scrutiny from fans. That would be Simiseer. Just because I think of its artwork, like, I've seen it in the anime, and they can show it, this Pokemon looking pretty impressive, but unfortunately, due to the way it holds its hands in the picture that you're seeing on the screen, and just judging how goofy it looks, it doesn't get the respect it deserves. And even though it's kind of like a mediocre Pokemon, even when compared to, you know, its brothers, which I think, who is it? Simipour is kind of the weakest. Like, I found that one to be the least useful. But yeah, Simiseer is pretty good, has a decent variety of attacks, but more importantly, for 5th gen, when you start out with, you know, your starter, you do have an opportunity to get one of these monkeys, and in this case, Simiseer, but you can also find them in the forest, I believe, in X, Y, and Z, like early on. Like, they are very good supporters for whoever your starter happens to be, if you have access to them. And they'll hold out for at least the first half or quarter of the game, and that's a really big thing, because that's when you don't want to be losing and lose interest in the game. But yeah, I think poor Simiseer just falls under a little bit too much scrutiny just because of the poor artwork it was dealt. Next up is Camerupt. Now, Camerupt was a Pokemon that I wasn't too sure about. I do like my Gen 3, but I liked Camerupt for its concept. I liked that fire ground type. It was like a volcano. I did enjoy using it, but I really came to love it when I caught a shiny one. It's got a black body with purple hoops. I couldn't find a PNG with it to be shiny, and to be honest, my Photoshop skills aren't good enough to really shinify it. But that being said, Camerupt is pretty cool. Like, it can take some hits. It has access to some rock moves, which makes sense. And then Eruption. It's kind of the poor man's Groudon right there because of that move. But Eruption's pretty powerful, especially, like, it's hard to get a Camerupt down in health. And especially when someone knows it's going to take a 4 times water damage, they might want to switch in their water type, and they'll get hit with, you know, that 100% power Eruption. But even if not, I do find that Camerupt is a pretty good Pokemon on its own. And Mega Camerupt, I was pretty pleased with as well. I was happy to see that I got a Mega Evolution. It kind of seemed like the most unlikely Pokemon to Mega Evolve, but who am I to judge? I mean, poor Flygon. Next is a Pokemon that Moltres, I didn't care about in Gen 1. I really didn't, you know, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I didn't really come around to Moltres until Gen 3, because I find it really excels in double battles. I find it works well with one of its other legendaries, Groudon, but even if not, Moltres is pretty strong. I always liked Articuno a little bit better back in the Red and Blue days, but I find myself going to Moltres more often than not when I need a Fire-type Pokemon that won't be hit by Earthquake. And I find, and again, teaming up with a Drought user like, you know, Kanto, Ninetales, just that Heat Wave will hit so hard, and it can also use Solar Beam. Like, my Moltres has always been a special attacker, and with Fire Slash, oh yes. I enjoyed using Moltres quite a bit in the Pokemon Battle Revolution days, and I can still continue to look to Moltres for when I need a double battle. And the next 3 Pokemon are probably on everybody's list. At least one of them is, and I will admit it might come off as being cliche, but I do have my own opinions about each of these Pokemon. So first, typhlosion. Now, to be clear, the typhlosion that I had in Pokemon Silver way back then, I didn't soft reset. Whatever Pokemon I got, that's what I got. I just played through naturally. I didn't care about stats or any of that. But what I didn't realize was that Cyndaquil that I had gotten was a female Cyndaquil. So it eventually evolved into like me imagining that, kind of like how your female dog might be affectionate towards you, that's how my typhlosion is towards me. My typhlosion was awesome. I don't care what anyone says. Typhlosion was awesome. Teaching it Thunder Punch with Flamethrower, because Thunder Punch back then was still a special move. Yeah, it didn't require physical attack. It went totally by the special attack. So having Thunder Punch gave it some coverage. And I did like teaching it Rollout, but I think eventually I went with Swift, because I like to imagine it was like throwing shurikens. Yeah. And it was one of the first Pokemon to have Flame Wheel. It was like the fire type move that could get you out of being frozen, so I thought that would be, you know, a cool thing to have. But I liked imagining it curling into that ball and just tearing ass over the battlefield and just mowing down enemies in its fiery wheel form. But yeah, I really like my Typhlosion, and I kind of like wish it got like its own signature Z move or its Mega Evolution. Like, come on, I mean, it's one of the, you know, original, I mean Gen 2, but it's one of the starters that the older players like myself really like love, right? And it was also designed by the same team that did the Red and Blue. So yeah, like, this Pokemon does hold a special place in my heart. Now, the next one is really going to be coming off as the cliche favorite, but Charizard. So when I first picked up Pokemon Blue, because it had the cool tank turtle on it, I didn't know that, like, I figured Blue had the tank turtle in it at least, and I figured like there wasn't much differences between the games. I thought, like, you just, I don't know what I was thinking then when I picked it out, but I just thought the tank turtle looks cooler, and I'm gonna have that monster. So there I am in Oak's lab. I picked Charmander because it never occurred to me that Squirtle would evolve into Blastoise eventually. But like many players, Charmander was the way I went. It got leveled up much faster because it stayed at the top of my party. I didn't know about rotating the team to get experience. I never played any other RPG, so I just plainly didn't know. And I think I'm so connected with Charizard just because of all the struggles we went through together in Pokemon Blue. Just because it was my highest level Pokemon, and like, we really just tanked it together like all the time. And when Yellow came out, I did migrate it over to teach it Fly, and then I put it back into Blue, so this way I could fly on a Charizard, and I was the only person within the world of Pokemon Blue that had a Charizard that could use Fly. Plus it got, you know, that flying type move. But as time went on, you know, more moves came out, so I wanted to teach it things like Fire Punch in Gen 2, and then Dragon Breath when I could, Flamethrower, even Flame Blast. I know it's not the strongest move, but, you know, there's that. And then Air Slash in Gen 4, I was particularly excited about that. Even Iron Tail to a degree I was excited about, but even so. Now, you're probably wondering, if Charizard is one of my favorite Pokemon, which of its Mega Evolutions do I like? Well, I like them both. I mean, they both have their unique qualities, but Charizard X, Mega Charizard X, is more for a single battle, and it's a physical attacker. And I am pretty happy that it gets those blue flames, but to be honest, I saw Mega Charizard Y, which was probably just Mega Charizard, period, because I don't think they came up with split Mega Evolutions just yet when they previewed it. And I actually thought Mega Charizard Y, along with Mega Blastoise and Mega Venusaur, is like, what is this? I thought maybe they retconned the evolutions and made them stronger somehow, I don't know. But when I saw them, you know, I kind of thought, are they knockoffs? But no, they weren't knockoffs. It drew me in. And I saw them in a magazine, actually. But I actually have a soft spot for Charizard Y, just because it seems like it's holding on to, like, it's a more advanced version of Charizard, and it seems like it's more, like, it's become so skilled at its aerial combat abilities that it's more aerodynamic. And this Charizard is actually more prone for special attacking. Like, granted, you can use physical, like, it doesn't matter to Drought, the fire type move gets powered up, but I do believe Y has more special attacking power. So, but either way, I liked my Charizard. I wish I could have transferred my Pokemon Blue Charizard. Oh, but the Virtual Console. No, I'm talking my original Pokemon Blue Charizard all the way up to now. But, you know, that's not the reality. But still, when I think of Charizard, I get warm, fuzzy thoughts. But that's not the end of the video, no. My favorite Fire-type Pokemon is a Pokemon that I met in Gen 3. If you have watched any of my Pokemon Let's Plays, you might know how excited I was when Pokebank became available for Sun and Moon. Because my partner Pokemon, the Pokemon I want with me at all times, Blaziken. Yes. Blaziken, and then into Mega Blaziken. Yes. The first firefighting type, or at least firefighting type starter. But no, it was the first firefighting type. I felt it's so bad because, like, a lot of people say Infernape is so much stronger, and then there's Emboar, and Blaziken kind of got a little forgotten, but Blaziken is just as strong. It may not have the speed until it Mega Evolves, but Blaziken on its own was pretty cool. Now, my current Blaziken knows Thunder Punch, it knows Dual Chop, Flame Charge, and a fighting move I can't think of right now. I think Brick Break. Now, you're probably saying, oh, those really aren't the strongest moves, but I like that it had access to a Dragon type move. I liked giving it Thunder Punch to give it a little, you know, because it's water and flying are both strong against Blaziken, but now it has a way to fight back. And then Flame Charge may not be the strongest fire move, but it gives me that first speed boost, and then speed boost itself will boost the speed. And with Brick Break, that eliminates barriers, but it's also a very strong fighting type move. So it kind of, like, I really thought about that moveset. I felt for the Blaziken, well, the Torchic specifically, that it was a Blaziken, that's right, that I sent to Sun and Moon, that was the best move pool for it, because I wanted to leave my Alpha Sapphire Blaziken in that game. I have bred quite a few Blazikens, mind you, and I tried to go for either special attacker, physical attacker. Like, there's so many options for this Pokemon. Like, I very much enjoyed using Blaziken. I even, like, I bred Torchics just to send into another generation, or I actually still have from my Sapphire game that Blaziken with its lax nature, which most people will say, oh, that's not preferable, but I'm holding on to it because I can, and let's face it, a lot of us do transfer all of our old Pokemon and still feel for them, even though they're just bits of data. And like I said, Blaziken, when I played Pokemon X, and there was a Torchic right at the beginning, and it had its hidden ability of Speed Boost, and I got to start a journey in a new game, in a new region, I picked Chespin, and I got the Torchic. It was amazing. Like, and then when Chespin became a grass fighting type, I imagined the two were sparring partners, and I enjoyed every moment of having those two Pokemon, like, specifically being able to do the Mega Evolution, because I felt like that was so awesome that my favorite Pokemon got, like, an upgrade, and I'm sure many people felt that way when their particular favorite Pokemon got a Mega Evolution for Flygon. But that's it for my favorite Fire-type Pokemon. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Tell me about your favorite Fire-type Pokemon, or experiences that you've had with your Fire-type Pokemon. And as always, make sure to check out my Patreon page to help support the gaming portion of this channel. Make sure to like this video and do subscribe, and check out my other videos in the right hand column. Until next time,